Hello, you lovely humans. It's so lovely to see you all here today. I've just been watching the hellos come in via the chat feature today, and it just makes me feel so happy. So thank you all for being blooming lovely, positively lovely, as we would say here. It's a thrill and an honour that you would spend a little bit of time with Lucy and I today. So thank you a million times. If you haven't already, do drop in the chat feature where you're watching from, so everyone can know. And if you haven't already, in that spirit, you'll see on your screens right now some instructions, because what we always get is a bunch of chat feature messages that come through to hosts and panelists. It's one of these things that Zoom does. It's a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. And so I just need to ask you to switch your chat feature over to everyone so everyone can see your messages, just like Nicole has, just like Rebecca has, just like Jessica has, just like Emma has. And we keep on going. There are so many lovely people. Hello to you all. I think my favourite one I've seen so far was someone saying hello from Basel in Switzerland, the land of chocolate and cheese. They self-described it as, which is fabulous. Um, Today, get going with the introducing our fabulous speaker for today. So some of you will notice a change in schedule in terms of our scheduled speaker for this week, but we have the fabulous Lucy Hall coming to speak with us today. Lucy is someone who I admire for her entrepreneurialism, just being like such a supportive human to her community, as well as just being a smart human who just brings so much energy to this. We've got Simon as well in the chat feature, who's clearly taken this as the Ball comment as a challenge. And Simon says from Birmingham, the land of purple chocolate, which is very good. Lucy's an absolute legend, and I know that you're really going to enjoy her chatting through today. Over the course of these webinars in this season, we've been speaking social media, and we've spent quite a lot of time getting quite strategic, and so I'm hoping today will be a little bit more tactical for you. With that spirit in mind, if you've got any questions that you would like to drop in the Q&A feature, then please do. That's found down below, and we can get to those as we go throughout today's session, because it is a conversation. Mark responds to Simon in the chat saying the purple chocolate sounds like a great student nightclub. I will not be going there because I haven't been clubbing for about 15 years and I never intend to ever again. Before we get going, I want to say a big thank you to our featured sponsor this week, and this week it's Exclaimer. Now, I really love Exclaimer because I think it's a tool that speaks to managing the little things, caring about the little things, which has to matter in your marketing. What Exclaimer does is it enables you to centrally manage your team's email signatures to bring consistency across the brand, but also enabling you to use it as a new marketing channel. It also allows you to sweat your assets. So, for example, they've just released a new feature which enables you to embed your social media channels into your email signature, which enables you to keep on exposing the folks that you are speaking to via your email to the content that you're producing and working so hard to produce. It's a really nifty little platform, and I'd recommend checking it out. Also, a big thank you to Frontify, Exclaimer, Cambridge Marketing College, Redgate and ScoreApp. You're all legends. We'll speak about them in future weeks. With that all done, my introduction is done. So Lucy, thank you for taking the time, and thank you also, like the chat today is just absolutely wonderful. So thank you everyone for making that so special. Lucy, you and I were chatting before we went live today about social media updates, and like I'd just love it if you could repeat what we were sort of speaking about, because I think it felt really important.
I think hello by the way. Hi everyone, and thanks for thanks for being here and thanks for having me, Joe. I
So,
think social media updates for marketers can just be, hi Alison, can just be really, really overwhelming actually. And I don't think the majority of them even matter. They're just distractions for us. It's great to know that, these new things are happening, but like adding a note to an Instagram photo. Uh, is this something I could use right away? Probably, but is it something that's going to make a huge difference to my marketing right now? Probably not. And there's so many things like this. There's so many Instagram features, for example. Every day we hear of something new that Instagram's doing, and it's just great PR for them because it keeps us thinking about Instagram. But actually, does it mean anything? Do all of these things mean anything to us most of the time? probably not. Like, unless it's a huge algorithm change or something that's going to completely shift the strategy. Um, I just think it can just be overwhelming. And the fact that, uh, some people say, well, if you don't know what's going on in social media, what all of these latest updates are and that kind of thing, can you even work in social media? Can you even work in social media marketing? It's just rubbish. I think, yeah, keep it in mind that there's new things happening all the time, but it's not stuff that we need to jump on right away, right?
I love that. It's so important. Like I think it's exactly to the spirit of your point. Like we are going to do this because it's important information. Kind of, it's important information to accept or reject, I guess. But sort of taking that spirit and taking it all with a pinch of salt and going, I don't need to worry about this. Feels really important because that's not what we're supposed to be here to do. As Hilary says, that's reassuring. Information burnout is real, and like we can provide information today, but what we don't want to do is worry folks and sort of go, if you're not doing these things, your business is going to collapse, because that's not what this is about. So I just love that you made that point. So I think it was important to set today's session up in that way, because we're going to be speaking about a lot of things, presumably, and so to highlight that up front is really, really useful. So thank you, Lucy. I found that really healthy. So I hope everyone watching in does too today as well. I'm now going to kind of go against that spirit and then spend the rest of this session sort of asking you questions about updates. And the way I thought we could do it is just go through platform by platform and sort of speak to some of the updates that have been happening. But just to re-emphasize, folks, if you have questions, then do drop them in. So, Lucy, let's start off with LinkedIn. So what's new here?
Okay, so I've not picked out the latest new trending things that have come out this moment, because I think it's really hard to kind of, if we don't have any data to back up like how it works, or we're not quite sure how to use it, it's kind of it can be a little bit irrelevant, and it's just like more information that we're piling on top of you. So I've actually just chosen like a couple of features that have came out in the last kind of 6 months that I think are really useful, and some of the features that they have within them and how we can possibly use them as marketers within our within our marketing plan, basically. So the first thing is obviously a vertical video on LinkedIn, which is about 6 months, I think they started rolling it out. And now there's a feed on, if you go on your mobile app, there's a feed just for video, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's gone wild. It really has.
It's gone wild. So for me, I'm kind of like, how useful is this to people working in B2B? Because have you noticed any search functionality in there?
No, that's a really interesting point. In fact, no, I
So
haven't noticed that.
yeah, so like for example, if you work in social media marketing, you might want to see either industry updates depending on the industry you work in, or you might want to see video updates about like so, social media trends, updates, things that you can implement, and that kind of thing. But if I hit on that video feed, I'll scroll through that feed and it's just random stuff. It's like all kinds of things. It's like marketing stuff, entrepreneurship stuff, which, that might also be because, I have several different things that I talk about and that I learn about through LinkedIn, but it is just a never ending feed of loads of stuff that is very difficult to sort through. It's not tagged or anything like that. There's no search functionality. So whilst they want you to create video for LinkedIn, and whilst they're saying that, dwell time is really important, they're really, focused on this TikTok style feed, this vertical video feed on LinkedIn, how good is it for the end user if you aren't able to sort through the content? Emily says she's seeing loads of repurposed video content from other platforms. Yeah, absolutely. Not specific to LinkedIn content yet. So I don't think it's fantastic. However, there's obviously an opportunity there because not everybody's creating content on LinkedIn, to create some really good original content, vertical video content that is specifically for the B2B audience that you want to reach. Also, the other thought that I had on this, if it's okay for me to say, is that with vertical video, we consume vertical video a lot of the time as a consumer. We're looking for fun content, interesting content, things we can share with our friends. How are you going to be viewing that content as a B2B user, as somebody who's actively either looking to buy, or somebody who you're looking to connect with different communities and that kind of thing. Is this we're going to be looking at, I just think we're going to be consuming in a different way, right? Than to how we are consuming on TikTok. And that makes me think, is there longevity in this vertical feed for LinkedIn? Just like stories didn't work. So that's just my thoughts on it anyway. But,
Nice.
obviously there
I love
is a great opportunity there.
I love that. It's really interesting. It's very clear they're pushing it right now. And so LinkedIn is probably the only platform I can really contribute anything to in this conversation. But what's been really interesting is that I've had a couple of LinkedIn videos recently where I've shared them and they've been getting sort of, sometimes upwards of 400,000 views. So I've had two in the
Wow.
past sort of month or something like that. But what's interesting about that is that quite often the engagement, sort of in terms of likes, reactions, and comments, hasn't been proportional to a typical post. And so what we're seeing, to your point, which I think reinforces your point, is a lot of views and a lot of sort of engagement, a lot of views, but not necessarily a lot of engagement. And I think that runs counter to my experience with video most frequently, because what I would most frequently see with video is that even though it takes a lot more effort, you get a lot more engagement in the long term. And this is not what I've experienced in the recent sort of vertical video revolution on LinkedIn, so to speak. So it's something to watch out for, be aware of, and
Yeah.
specifically with the amount of impressions you're getting, I'm not necessarily seeing that matched in terms of engagement or sort of like business results, which is seemingly really important. So yes, I just thought I'd add that to the video point specifically. Um, let's head on to the next one on LinkedIn because you mentioned a second thing that you would like to mention.
Yeah, I actually think this one's a little bit more useful at the moment. So LinkedIn premium company pages. And of course, the platforms always need to find ways to try and make more money. So this is another way for LinkedIn to create a subscription and to earn more money. But actually, this is actually something really useful if you have a company page on LinkedIn. I have a couple of company pages on LinkedIn. So first-hand experience is that they actually do really well. And I know that a lot of people would say that as a person creating content on LinkedIn, it's much better than the company pages. But actually, we're seeing million impressions or something like that a month or more, and we have over 100,000 people following one of our LinkedIn pages. It's all happening organically and that kind of thing. So I thought, let's try LinkedIn premium company pages, right? What could go wrong? And they have some really good features. So there's custom call to action buttons, which I think is really useful, especially if you're engaging a lot as your page and you're replying to people as your page. You can see, visit the website and that kind of thing. You can have your custom CTA button anyway as like a human or a profile on LinkedIn. But I think this is really great. And there's also the AI powered post writing. I don't love that because I often think it changes the content on your page so much that it doesn't really sound like you anymore.
Yeah.
And I still think it's important that you sound like the business or the brand personality, the business personality that you want to represent. I like auto invites because I know you can invite, I think it's like, how many people can you invite a month on LinkedIn pages? 250 or something like that, or a week?
Something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but there is a limit for sure.
250. Everybody's here like 250 people. Well, actually, what the auto invites does, it invites people automatically who are engaging with your content, which is fantastic because now these people are interested in what you're sharing. They should follow your page. So that's a really great feature. And I think it works out about £66 a month for this. So it's not massively cheap, but it's not overly expensive either. So it's worth a try, especially as there's a free trial at the moment as well, which you were talking about earlier, Joe. I think these tools can really help to drive engagement. Another thing actually that I think is really good especially if you're a B2B company and you're really focused on gaining those leads,
Mhm.
is you can see who has visited the page. or who's been looking at the page or looked at your profile on the page. And I think that's really good because that means that person has maybe interacted with your content. You can see that anyway, but now they've actually looked at your page and they're interested in what you do. You can see, and then it sends you their details. It shows you their details, and you can see like a list of all of those people. And I think that's quite useful. I don't think it's massively useful for me as a community focused page or as community focused pages, but I think it would be massively useful if you're a very specific B2B company, right? Who's
Yep.
after specific people, when you can see, right, this is quite warm now. I can actually reach out to this person. They know who I am. They're interested in what I'm doing. Now I'm going to start off a conversation, perhaps in their DMs or something like that, which is, I think, a nicer way to do it than just slide randomly into somebody's LinkedIn DMs and start selling them stuff.
I fully agree. I guess the volume of folks that will be viewing your page will be so high, and so just to reinforce your point, really, that
Yeah.
yeah, I love that as a thought process. You know that if you get a few visits per day, for example, and you're able to see those folks engaging, that's a really lovely tactic to sort of take advantage of the premium pages specifically. Good thought, Lucy. I like that a lot. Hopefully, that's useful for folks watching in because I can see how that would be really really helpful. I just want to pick up on one thing, and like, I don't think this is necessarily an answerable question, but I've noticed it both in the chat and the Q&A. Chloe has said, "Do you know what's happening with hashtags on LinkedIn? Notice they aren't clickable anymore." And I've only noticed this today.
Okay.
It could well be a bug. I don't know. But I wondered if you had any additional insight at all, Lucy. It's fine if the answer's no.
No, I hadn't noticed that either,
Okay.
actually.
Cool.
Um, I wonder if it is a bug. Let's have a look on the see.
Yeah, like I noticed it today, but like I don't know. I think it is a bug. So we all
Potentially.
roll past that. I think they previously mentioned that hashtags specifically are not all that useful anyway. So
Yeah, it's working now. For example, the social media marketing hashtag is something I'm following, and there's 164,000 followers of that hashtag.
cool.
And I can see all of the content that's tagged underneath that content. And I actually do find it useful, the hashtags, because
Interesting.
it helps me to discover content that I actually care about. So if I'm looking for content around social media marketing, and I click on that tag, for example, then I can see all of that content. That's useful to me. So perhaps if there was a better way to tag the videos on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, that would be useful to me. If I could just see content that, I'm interested in, like perhaps about around business funding or social media marketing, I could click it and I would see all the videos like that. I would love that.
Love that. I love that diversity of opinion, so like that's great to hear how different
Yeah.
people interact. So I think we put that one to bed in both the chat. So thank you everyone as well for being so useful in sharing your experiences as well in the chat. Um, so we've highlighted two useful things, and I love that your perspective on this is to focus on the useful rather than the new and the shiny. So thank you. Two really useful things. If we now head over to TikTok, which is foreign ground for me, I am not particularly au fait with TikTok. So could you speak us through your observations or useful updates that are useful there?
Okay, so I think the search ads, I think this is the number one thing that's important at the moment. So TikTok is rolling out search ads. I don't know if you've heard about the search
Uh,
ads on TikTok, because it allows advertisers now to pay to appear in the search results on TikTok. I think TikTok's fantastic for search. You go on Instagram, for example, Instagram Reels or Instagram, you want to find something and you type something in and you just don't find anything useful again. That's just one way. That's one thing Instagram could improve, right? They could just
mhm.
make search so much better,
Yeah,
rather than adding notes to pictures and 20 carousel things and that kind of thing, like 20 posts to your carousel. It's like search is so important for people. I know we love to passively scroll through social media and come across and discover things, but search ads just feel like a really good idea for TikTok. So it's not like Google. TikTok users are in a discovery mindset. We know that, meaning they're more open to stumbling upon something new. But at the same time, it does open up really good discovery opportunities for marketers. So if you're targeting against certain search results and that kind of thing, I think there's some really, really fantastic opportunities, especially as creators drive what people are searching for, I think, on TikTok as well. So if a creator has made something go viral or it's trending and perhaps like it's linked to a product that you sell, then you could target against that search result, which would be, I think, it's such a great opportunity, right? I mean, I think it is anyway.
No, I do. So how does it actually appear? Is it when you're saying it appears in the search results, is it appearing as a video that appears as part of the search, or is it because when you are searching, then it will give you like the autocomplete sort of examples and stuff like that. Is it literally serving up videos as ads as part of these search ads?
I don't know exactly. I haven't actually created one of these ads yet, and actually, it's rolling it out at the moment. So I
Okay.
don't know full details of this, but I think it's
Okay.
exciting,
Yeah.
and I think it's a great way, for people to discover. So I'm not going to just make it up. I don't know rolling out at the moment.
I love
But
that.
I do love TikTok. I do love the way that you can discover things that, stumble upon things and discover new things. And, I think that one of the great things about TikTok as well, once you do discover a creator that you love, you go look on your profile and then you keep looking at all of the content around them. And then you can click on, if somebody's talking about somebody else on TikTok, you can click on something else that's trending. You can find more information about the person and the type of thing that they're talking about. I just think it is like the best social media platform at the moment for marketing
I love that.
and also for users as well. I adore it. I adore. Do you not like TikTok?
No, I spend too much time on TikTok, but I don't wear it with my marketer's hat really. I use it as a user,
Yeah.
which is a different orientation
Yeah.
to what I normally would for a lot of social media platforms. I'm purely passive on TikTok specifically. I find it very. We have posted some videos and like we got 13 million views on one, and then like 2.2 million views on the next, and then like 10
Wow.
on the next. And so it's like proper boom or bust, and I'm not sure my fragile ego can take that. So, so but no,
That's
it's
fantastic.
yeah, it's a
Someone
lot.
here, Chloe, is saying she's 23 and she uses it as my Google. And I think, that's absolutely the way it is, isn't it? It's like the Gen Z audience, even I think Generation A. I don't like to put people into generations, obviously, because we're all so
Mm,
different, really. But if you look at consumer habits in age groups, the younger generation are using TikTok to discover new products and to
mm,
buy new products. So even, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds are buying, stuff from TikTok shop and that kind of
yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
it's so phenomenal.
Yeah, really, really interesting, and I love that sort of mindset that you shared at the beginning, using it as an awareness tool, that sort of discovery platform. That's really smart. That's smart marketing. So
Yeah.
that's really useful. And we've got Robert in the chat saying, "I'm a millennial and I use it for search more than Google." So solidarity with the millennials, the fellow millennials in the chat.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on TikTok that you'd like to cover off, or should we head over
I just
to
think it's
YouTube?
more on the ad side of things. I think we all know about TikTok and the amazing creative stuff that they're doing around like, oh, one of the things was Gen um AI avatars, I think it is. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've heard about that. I just think this is interesting because TikTok's offering creators the ability to create AI versions of themselves,
Yep. Yeah.
which
It's
I
wild.
think is like scary
Mm.
and but also like really interesting as well because it does mean, I guess, that creators can spread themselves a little bit thinner. Have you
Mhm.
seen some of these avatars that you can these avatars you can create for yourself? I mean, they clone your voice
Yeah.
and you as a person, and they're absolutely incredible. But I just wonder what it's going to do to trust,
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. So
It's a wild thing. I don't know whether there's a succinct answer you can give on it really, because there's so many positive and negatives.
yeah,
My main emotion is fear and
yeah,
sort of cringing at it, but I do accept that there will be some positives for some people. The confidence as much as anything for some folks who are not feeling particularly confident in front of speaking in front of a camera. I can imagine that being really liberating and helpful. And so,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't judge anyone for using it, but simultaneously, it doesn't feel like something I would like to engage with at the moment,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. See how it goes, I guess. And also, I was just reading here as well, when I was putting this together earlier. AI avatars can interact with audiences and stream on behalf of the creator.
it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot.
So it's not like you're behind it, like telling it what to say. It's Gen AI, isn't it? Like it knows you, it knows who you are, it knows what you will say, and it's now you, a version of you that can
Mhm.
interact. Um, so it's kind of exciting, but then somebody's saying the older I get, I just want to hide my identity from the internet. Yes, Meta's doing the same. Someone's saying, is Meta not doing the same? Yeah, Meta's doing the same as well. So I was going to mention that later. But there's so much going on with generative AI. I think, it's just that's something that's important to keep an eye on, actually. Uh, for marketers, yeah, you could have an AI representative for your brand. It actually could be a really good to have an AI representative of your brand that deals with all your customer service and that kind of thing. I think it could be not only novel, but also, quite interesting. But then it's like when the frustration kicks in because it's not actually you.
Mm,
And does it feel somewhat deceiving then?
mm, mm.
Or does
There's
it
so
say
much.
this is an AI generated version of Joe from the marketing meetup, and he's going to be answering your questions today?
Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. Um, let's.
Interesting, though.
It's wild, isn't it? Let's head over to YouTube because I'm aware that
Okay.
we've got a few platforms to tick off, and TikTok is certainly one of the most interesting. But I'd
Mhm.
love to get to the others as well, just to make sure that we help folks out.
Okay. Yeah, because I had a TikTok's so much going on, and there's a few
Yeah.
more on there, like the flip stories and that kind of thing. But I'm sure we find out that. YouTube. Okay, so there's quite a few updates to YouTube Shorts. Actually, I think that's something that they're really pushing more and more. So from the 15th of October, YouTube Shorts can now be 3 minutes long.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
And that gives marketers obviously more room for storytelling in short form video content. And they've also got these new templates as well that you can remix very quickly and jump on trends really easily. So we know how like a lot of young people now really love their trends. So I think that's really interesting. And there's also a shorts trends page as well. It's either coming or it's here now, which will help marketers to track what's hot in their region. So then if you know something's trending, it's hot in your region and it fits in with what you're trying to obviously achieve as part of the bigger picture, then of course you can execute on that. You can create content around that. So they're just really focusing on making trend driven content easier to execute, basically. So I think it's a great way to help marketers to find out, what's hot at the moment and let them jump on it if it's right for them to do
Yeah.
so, of course.
That's so interesting. Like maybe we can do a bit of a straw poll while we're watching in today. So I'd love it if folks could pop in the chat if you do engage with social media channels, so your LinkedIn, your TikToks, etc. And the second part of that question is whether you engage in YouTube specifically. So like yes or no to whether you engage in social media, and then yes or no to YouTube. Um, because I'd be fascinated to know how many folks really consider YouTube as part of this the sort of social media ecosystem. Um, it feels like the beginnings of yeses and nos, as in
Yeah.
yes, social, but no to YouTube. And that really, really is quite interesting. I'll watch that as we go through. Is there anything else on YouTube as we're on this platform specifically?
So I just think that was the most important thing that I wanted to share on YouTube. I don't
Nice.
know if there's anything that you've seen on YouTube that you want to share so that we're not missing anything.
I think Shorts is the one to be watching out for. I think it seems to be um, as much as we spoke about vertical video. I really love the point that you picked up on LinkedIn that vertical video might be consumed in a different context, i.e., people are on their desktop or at work. But that sort of general thread of vertical video sort of across shorts, reels, LinkedIn now, TikTok. It's definitely something worth thinking about and accepting or
Mm.
rejecting as part of your strategy. And it's nice that at least that's an option on YouTube now.
Yeah.
It, the
The
answers in
question
the
is,
chat.
how do you then tailor each of those shorts to every single platform as well? Do you just post the same thing across the platform?
Absolutely.
Or do you make slight changes? But then I'm guessing if the audience is the same on all platforms,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess it's for the individual to decide what you think is
100%.
best.
There's been a diversity of opinion expressed across our speakers on this because I think I'm a little bit more in the camp of if you're producing a video for one platform, it's probably all right. It's not going to harm to pop it elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think the best practice that some of our social media professionals have sort of encouraged is like, if you're going to all the effort, then you might as well sort of just do that
Yeah.
little bit extra to tweak it. But, I think we're aware when we're speaking to folks in this session today that there'll be a lot of solo marketers, small marketing teams, and that's a lot of work. So, it's an interesting one and a difficult one, and there's often a difference between best practice and reality, right? So it's hard. Um,
Yeah.
let's head over to Twitter because this feels like it's an interesting platform to say the least at the moment, and would love to know where you're at with that presently.
Twitter. Okay. So one note not to bother with, everybody saying imploding. So the good news is, in terms of social media updates, Twitter/X is rebranding as a news platform, apparently. Or they
Okay.
don't, or they want to be called a news platform, which is great for us because it means we don't need to talk about it. It's great for me as someone who works in social media space. I don't have to talk about it anymore then. But actually, but they are doing more to support creators, partnership and doing partnerships with influencers. Doing partnerships with influencers perhaps on X might be a good viable strategy, dependent on like who your audience is and who you're trying to connect with, because you can't discount this platform if your audience is there.
Mhm.
So we do laugh about it, and although we may not be using it in a personal capacity, many of us, there are people who still use it, and is viable for them. So uh, yeah, journo. So some Annabelle's saying the only reason my charity is still on Twitter to engage with journos, and I think journo stuff is also moving over to threads now as well. So I've seen a lot of that recently. But yeah, I don't love the way the owner of X conducts themselves, and it doesn't align with my values personally. So I've left the platform. Although I must admit, if I'm looking for news and I'm looking to see what's happening in the moment, I will look on X. And I don't know if anybody else does that. So
Mm.
that could be, if you are creating in the moment content, for example, around a specific event in the wider news, then I think then, X does become a very viable channel for you in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of marketing.
There is a practicality to these things. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you pointing out because it could be one could watch in on a session like today and see us laughing about something like that and think it's blasé, but to bring that practicality and that reality to it is a really important point to highlight. So thank you. And by the way, the chat today has just been wonderful, with you all sharing your own insights too. I mean, it's moving too quickly for us to capture a lot of the stuff being said, but like the fact you're all helping each other, I just wanted to highlight that and say thank you because that means so much, and that's community in action. So it's noticed even if we're not able to react to everything. But thank you very much. It's so good to see.
I think
Um,
it's amazing all of the different opinions shared and all the thoughts shared and different things that people do, because there's obviously no right or wrong way, right? It's just everybody's business, brand, company they work for is different. Like the people you're targeting is different, your strategy is different. So there's no silver bullet here, and everybody is completely viable in what they're saying. And I just love reading all of these comments. I don't know if we can download them and read them afterwards, 'cause I think that will be fantastic to see what everybody's been saying. Because also it's great because if there's something like I'm thinking and I read something else someone else is saying, it also helps you think differently and perhaps change your mindset on something as well, which I think is awesome. So thanks for all
Absolutely.
the comments. Yeah, amazing. This is an amazing community, Joe.
Well, it's credit to the community. It's we're a good bunch of people, right? Um,
Yeah. Amazing.
Let's head over to Instagram because it feels like I before we started speaking today, like you specifically referenced Instagram when you were like speaking in the
Mm.
context of updates and stuff like that, and how sometimes they can be helpful and sometimes they can be unhelpful. And like what I've enjoyed in this session is you've applied that lens of like reality to this, and
Yeah,
so Instagram feels like it's moving all the time, but I
yeah.
really value your opinion here on the things that actually matter.
Look, I think Instagram is fantastic. I think it's a great, especially Instagram and Meta, actually, and Facebook, actually, because they are the same company at the end of the day. And, they both have the reels and things that integrate with each other and that kind of thing. But I think, Instagram is a fantastic tool, especially if you sell product and you're an e-commerce company, because they have so many fantastic e-commerce features built in, right? The ads are fantastic. The platform to like sometimes, business suite and business manager can be a bit of a nightmare. Like today, I had a nightmare with it. As I every time it just really puts me off. But Instagram, is a fantastic platform, I still think, right?
Mhm.
But every week there's another update, there's another new thing that's happening, there's another, and it's just so overwhelming for marketers because do we need to know all of these things? Do we need to jump on all of these new things that are happening on Instagram? No. Okay, it's good to have them in the back of your mind in case you want to do something, but you just simply can't do everything that Instagram are saying. Um, you think the cash would be better spent on the business creator suite? Exactly. That is my whole point around Instagram. Please stop spending your money on creating a new note feature on a post and spend it on just sorting out business. Every marketer will love you more, and we will be able to create more ads, better ads, and spend more money on your platform. Okay. But I think they do love to. It's got to be because I know I sound really cynical, but it's got to be because they love to be in the news, right? Or they love for people to be talking about them all the time, which is a great tactic, right? But so Instagram, I think the most important update with Instagram was that Instagram is rewarding original content because there's so many aggregators and people sharing repurposed reels and that kind of thing from other people. And actually sometimes the original creator wasn't getting as much traction as the large account sharing it, for example. So the fact that they're rewarding original content, I think is amazing. And I think they should do that because creators are a really important part of Instagram, small creators, large creators, but original creativity is the most important thing. So for marketers, I think the focus should still be creating authentic original content, which is, I know it's very obvious. It's a very obvious thing to say. Create authentic. What does that even mean? Just create content that is good, that is helpful for your audience. It's so basic, I know. But yeah, right?
There's
Am I right?
well, there's the reassuring element, right? Because so again, I don't spend my life in social media land as much as I possibly should, but I know that it's the other side of the coin, right? Because you've got
Mm.
um, the name now escapes me, but the head of Instagram uh, releasing weekly videos or regular videos saying, "Hey, look at this new thing," and actually that communication is quite refreshing to a certain extent because it
Yeah,
is unique as far as I'm concerned in terms of the other platforms, which can be quite opaque. But you're right, that overwhelm. And so for you to point out two things, advertising being sorted and then sort of that refocusing on the important thing, the thing that sits at the core of this, which is original, useful content, which is a broad sweeping term, but in the context of this, then like that's a refocusing. That's useful. Maybe that's the most useful thing that we can
yeah.
say today. Is the shiny is good, the algorithm is interesting, but like that focus on content is first and foremost. So
Yeah,
yes.
there's actually as I thought there'd be a lot of discussion around Instagram as well. So Sally says Insta's way better at communicating changes and listening to the community, right? And I think that's what they do. They listen to the community and then they go, right, let's do this, let's do that,
Mm,
let's try this,
mm,
let's try that. And actually, not everything stays or remains, does it, as well? So when you do start using these new things as part of your strategy or tactics as part of your social media strategy, then there's always that risk that it's going to be taken away just as quickly as it was put out there, depending on who's using it as well. But then I guess the other thing that we have to think of is we're marketers, and most people are using Instagram as consumers. So what is it that they want? You know?
Absolutely. You know, and it's always that market orientation. It always comes back down to that, which is so true. Um, are there any sort of nuances that are worthy of pointing out between Instagram and Facebook? Because you mentioned them both in your last answer, so I don't want to
Yeah,
sort of,
I was thinking about this because Joe, when you said Meta, you said Facebook, if there's
yeah,
anything like
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
that's what I read it as
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
And actually, like I thought about this, and we all because Facebook's not cool, is it? Like it's not trendy, it's not
mhm,
TikTok, it's not like
mhm,
fun. Even
yeah,
LinkedIn trendier than Facebook, isn't it, to marketers? But Facebook still has the most users. Facebook
mhm,
has the biggest like audience of like what baby boomers and um Generation X, the people with the most money to spend, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
from a marketer's perspective, if you have a product or a service for that audience, that is a great place, and it's still it's great for e-commerce. They still have shops. I mean, reach can be limited on pages, but then think about groups and communities. Some of these communities are starting and growing to 1 million users in a couple of weeks.
mhm,
So
mhm.
Facebook is certainly not dead, and they're still doing quite a few updates regularly around like Facebook communities and that kind of thing. And I still don't think that there's a better platform to host a community on a social network than Facebook groups. Actually, it feels safe for people to talk to each other. It feels like really. It's almost gate kept a lot of the time. So, especially if you have a closed community, people who are joining this community are really interested in it. They're not joining randomly.
Mhm,
So if it's a community for marketers, for example, and they see that on Facebook, you're only going to get marketers join. Whereas I think if it's open, you might just get random people join for the sake of it, kind of thing. I still am a big fan of Facebook. I'm
love
not a
that.
consumer of content on Facebook myself, to be honest, but I love it as a marketer from a
Yeah.
marketing perspective.
And I love that. There's Jenny in the chat who's saying reels are getting loads of views for us on Facebook.
Yep.
Tom who's saying yes with two exclamation marks. Facebook is where people with actual disposable income are.
Yeah.
We get Rebecca who's saying Facebook is still the best performance driving platform in my opinion. And
Yeah.
what I appreciate in the answer as well is like I introduced you at the beginning as like an entrepreneur and stuff like that, and you're applying this entrepreneurial sort of lens, this marketing lens to this, So again, it's not necessarily about the trendy; it's about the effective, and so
Yeah.
that's what I get from your answer, and so far as your bit about groups and communities, I just wish LinkedIn groups were better because
Yeah.
like it would make the world a difference. But I think you're bang on that there is no better place right now to be building a group
Yeah.
than on Facebook. So it's
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we didn't mention WhatsApp as we're talking about the meta side of
mm,
things. WhatsApp's fantastic, really, for hosting communities. Like one of our communities is on there, and I just find it like the best place to communicate with the people within our community and chat to each other. And also, like as an e-commerce, again, if you're selling product, it's just a great way to like use for customer service. It's a
for
great
sure.
customer service outlet, basically. So you can set up automated replies. You can add your catalog to WhatsApp. So if you've got products, you can send them easily, or people can find them easily. The community groups are really good on there. So I do think, for all of its faults that Meta has, they are really good at community platforms about helping people to foster community, I think, which is really, really good. Phoebe says recently she saw an Oatly ad using WhatsApp. Yeah, you can create ads on, in WhatsApp as well, so people can, see your ads in there. And it's just really cool. Jo says she's built a global community of 40,000 members organically on Facebook groups. So absolutely agree. So actually, there's still a lot of love for Facebook amongst marketers.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It's bang on, and it's just a reminder as much as anything else, because you're right. I did ask you that question in that tone, like, is anything worth it? And it's just a reminder that, like, we're not the people here, with the opinions on how people should interact. We're a catalyst for our consumer, we're a catalyst for our customers, we're a catalyst for the people we care about helping. And so, taking our own personal opinions out of these things and applying some practicality, is fantastic. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that from the community. And well done, Joe, for growing 40,000 people in the group as
That's
well. That's,
amazing, isn't
that's
it?
fabulous.
40,000. That's incredible. There is some updates though with Meta and Facebook. We did talk about there's the AI generated video creation. And I was just reading an article about that. And apparently it's incredible, the AI generated video creation. It's not like, it's no joke. It's really, really like insanely good. So if you can look up some of these videos, go and have a look, because it's, supposed to be insane. And AI avatars again. So I think if AI avatars are coming to Facebook, or they're in Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, this
Mhm.
is something to look out for, right?
Absolutely. If that's what they're pushing, then people are going to be using it, and it's worthy of knowing from both a marketer and a consumer perspective. 100%.
Mm.
You mentioned, before we get to the community questions in the last 10 minutes, you mentioned when we were on the TikTok thing that you had a couple more points. And so, did we? I want to make sure we don't miss them, because your updates so far have been really useful, Lucy. So, was there anything that we haven't covered so far that we should go back to, or should we head to the community questions?
We can head to the community questions. I'll just quickly mention these couple of TikTok things. So
Hmm.
TikTok's Flip Stories feature. So I
Hmm.
don't know if you've heard of this. It just allows users to reveal hidden content by flipping. So it means that marketers can use this to unveil like exclusive promotions or reveal products that deepens engagement with your most loyal followers. And so I think
Hmm.
this is quite a nice one, actually. It just adds a little bit more depth as well to the platform. And then there's something else called TikTok Symphony.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this. It's Symphony Talk, but again, it's generative AI, and I feel like the updates that we're going to be getting over the next couple of years are going to be really focused around generative AI, which of course makes people's lives better. And I think less and less we're seeing these, images, for example, with like two fingers instead of five, and that kind of thing, and it's
Yeah.
becoming more and more sophisticated. But this actually generates custom music for ads, which
Mm.
I think is quite like I keep saying, I think it's quite interesting. I love all of this. I love social media, so I always think it's really. It makes it easier to align audio and brand content and messaging. So for marketers, it simplifies the process of creating high quality original audio instead of having to try and find. It's so frustrating, isn't it, when you're trying to find that perfect audio for your TikTok or your reel or whatever it is, and then the thing that you want is just not available for businesses, and you can't use it. We're not got the right licensing, and it's so frustrating. So I think this is a really great thing to
Love that.
use.
Love that. That's, it is really useful. I'm not going to labor this point because I'm aware of time. So let's head into the community
So
questions. But
yeah, Hillary
let me.
says that Meta put some Punjabi music over the ad she created the other week, but it wasn't relevant. So
Oh,
the
that's crazy. Yeah,
pitfalls.
definitely. Right, let's head into the questions from the community, and the top one is about Pinterest. So of course, we haven't covered all of the platforms today because we'll be here for the next week. But the top question in the Q&A says, when it comes to platforms like Pinterest, how important is it for predicting future cultural trends? And is it one that we should be spending more time on?
I don't know the answer to that. Where's that question gone? I don't know the answer to that question.
It's in the
For
Q&A.
me, yeah, for what it is for me with Pinterest is, and I think Pinterest is obviously a fantastic platform.
Mhm,
But I remember years ago, I went to, I think it was Social Media Week in London,
mhm,
and Pinterest stood up, and the first thing they said, this was years ago, maybe like 2017 or something like that. They
mhm.
stood up and they said, "We are not a social media platform.
Oh, interesting.
We are a discovery platform to help people to kind of like find things they love and pin things they love, something like that, something along those lines. We're not a social media platform, and I think Snapchat since have said something like we're not a social media platform. They don't want to be associated with being social media. And so then I've never really focused on the channel Pinterest. However, I do think I do think Pinterest is an incredible platform, especially for people discovering things, content they love, pinning things for later. I don't know if you use Pinterest, but as a consumer, I love Pinterest, but I don't necessarily use it at the moment in a social media capacity as a social media marketer. So if anybody else has anything to share on that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, spot on. Pop it in the chat if you are using it. Um, I typically get frustrated with the Pinterest login process. It shows how
Yeah.
long ago that, but you know where you find a pin organically, and then it forces you to log in, and then would take you to a different page. I don't know whether that was a bug that's sort of now been resolved 10 years ago, but frankly, that experience has put me off going back time and time again. So uh, it's an interesting thing. Let's head to the next
I was
one.
just going to say, Emily says they are amazing. They publish amazing trend forecasts and reports on their website, looking at the year ahead based on data and search terms. So that sounds really useful, especially, if you're a marketer.
100%. We'll make sure to link that afterwards, actually, because I saw their report a couple of years ago and it was very good. So we'll do that. Let's head to the next one. And so these are slightly more tactical questions, Lucy. So feel free, as you did with the last one, just to say I don't know, because that's absolutely fine. You've already expressed that you use hashtags yourself on the day-to-day. But Teresa in the Q&A has asked, on the topic of hashtags, are they still useful for Instagram and TikTok, or are they just not worth prioritizing at all?
So I think on TikTok, I don't think they're not necessarily that useful because the search is so good. You can search for something, and a user can search for something and they will find it, right? It's easy to find the things that you want to find on TikTok. But when it comes to Instagram as a user, the search does not work well. Does anybody else feel this, that the search works very badly on Instagram? And so you almost need hashtags. But then as a consumer, are you using hashtags? Are you using hashtags? That's the question. Like, as marketers, we kind of like hashtags, don't we? Because it helps us tag our content. And I actually love, as an event organizer, I love hashtags because it's a great way for me to see the conversation that's happening around around the content of the event and that kind of thing. Also, hashtags, I think, if you're running an ad, or if you're an ambassador for something, or you need to say it's sponsored. I know that they have the feature now that you can turn on and say that this is sponsored. I still think it's important because you can really make sure that it shows that it's an ad. So I still think I think they're still good for discovery on Instagram. TikTok, not so much, but somebody's saying they loved. CT says, I loved hashtags on Insta. I'm literally devastated they don't work well anymore. Yeah, it's not great. But they used to be able to have 29 hashtags on Instagram. Do you remember that?
The good old days.
29. 29. That is so many, isn't it? Like, can you imagine? And you used to have these apps called like Hashtagify and things like that, where you could put hashtag in, it would just give you like, social media used to be so much more spammy than it is now. I've got to be honest with you. Like, it used to be like so much more, there used to be all these kind of things. Because I started out doing work in social media like 12, 13 years ago or something like that. And I just remember some of the dodgy things we used to do to try and work out like how these platforms worked, right? And what the best things. There was so much test and learn going on because you didn't really know. But yeah, there used to be 29 hashtags. Now there's like, they're saying it's like 3 or 5 is best, but they still don't really pick up all of the right stuff that you want to use them for. So yeah, so maybe it's not worth using them. But then is it worth using search phrases on Instagram either? Because you can't find anything that way either. So
yeah, I love this, but what I appreciate in your answers is that while I don't think you're in any way sort of characterizing the platforms as good for discovery or good for consideration or whatever, starting to get at least a flavor for how you use them and the characters that you sort of associate with it. So TikTok for discovery, Instagram feels a little bit further down a proverbial funnel, where you're searching for specific things, etc. And I think that's just a useful mindset to apply in marketing in general, when you're looking at these platforms, to apply a bit of a purpose or an idea of how you would like people to engage with the content. It feels really sensible.
Yeah.
I want to get to the next question because I saw it and it made me smile. And it says, "Is LinkedIn now not just the spiritual home of the humble brag?" Uh, and I don't. I had an answer for this, and I'd be interested if it's the same as yours, Lucy. Um, and the reason why I'm asking this is it's now gravitated to the top of the Q&A. Um, and like,
And it's got a lot of people like that comment and
yeah,
that and as
yeah.
well.
And so for me, my answer would be that like, I think with LinkedIn, it can be quite a charged environment sometimes. I find it the most positive of the social media platforms. I think there's a lot less overt toxicity, even if it's sort of more below the below toxicity. But for the most part, I just encourage people to remember that most people are just trying their best, and like there are some odd folks who are doing things, but then for the most time, most people are just trying their best to figure it out and doing their best. And like I, I'm not having a go at the person who asked that question at all. But like similarly, I would really encourage people to be as forgiving as you can be to people trying things out if they're just trying their best. If they're not trying their best and they're trying to trick people, have you go,
Yeah.
But for the
Yeah.
most part, it's most people just doing what they can. But I don't know whether you have a different opinion on that at all, Lucy.
No, I agree. I think as well with LinkedIn, it's your personal workspace, right? So it's like you're at the office and you're talking to people and you're letting people know what's happening and that kind of thing. And if you win an award or you do something good, I think this is absolutely the place like to celebrate that. And I think it's also the place to celebrate other people as well if something wonderful's happened to them, because it just increases, I think, the positivity of the platform. And also because it is such a personal space, really, to share what you're up to and what you're doing with work and that kind of thing. Um, you've got to remember that person that's sharing that content, it's actually probably quite
Mm.
anxiety. It drives anxiety for them. Like I know, for example, it does for me when I post something on LinkedIn. I want to share my updates. Like, my kids are not interested if I just won an award, right? But my LinkedIn network might be. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think LinkedIn is a great way to foster connections, and the way for you to kind of find the right people to join your community or the right connections is to post content. And some of that content is going to be like, I'm really good at what I do. Or some people say that I'm really good at what I do. Say this really. But yeah, I think yes, there's some bad stuff going on, and there's some weird stuff going on, people trying to game it and that kind of thing. But also I think it's a lovely platform, and that you can build a wonderful community on LinkedIn. It's definitely my favorite as somebody who has work focused communities, which I say is kind of B2B. I think my favorite
Nice.
platform of the moment for
I love it.
work.
Love it. Thank you so much, Lucy. The hour has gone so quickly. There are a bunch of open questions, so we'll make sure to capture these. We'll send them across to Lucy, so you've got them for your own LinkedIn content or whatever content, should you want to use them. Thank you, Lucy, for just being wonderful and really grounding today's session, not just in the anxiety driving, but also like the practical, the entrepreneurial, the solid marketing theory, everything. And hopefully you can see in the chat feature a bunch of very, very lovely human beings
Thank you,
who are
everyone.
saying thank you. If you'd like to connect with Lucy, then do pop over to LinkedIn right there. It'll be lovely to see the connection count go wild for the next 24 hours or so. Also, an
Oh,
encouragement to check out Exclaimer as well, who have been fabulous supporters of the Marketing Meetup for so long, and I think a really, really smart tool to bring some consistency to your brand. Also, finally, a big thank you to Frontify, Exclaimer, Cambridge Marketing College, Redgate, and ScoreApp. They're all legends. We'll speak about them more going forward. Next week, we have the team from Innocent Smoothies coming to speak about how they create content, and then curate their community and respond to their community. It's a real nice case study. I hope you'll really enjoy it and really love it. And with all that said, thank you again, Lucy. You're an absolute hero, and thank you everyone in the community as well. Like, it's heartwarming every Tuesday. Appreciate you all so, so much. With that,
Me.
we'll see you very soon. Cheers. Take care.